Good morning, everybody. I don't think I have. Good morning, everybody. Wow, you look good today. You look very good. Richard told me that I probably need to wear darker clothes. It's already Friday the 13th, Richard. It's so good to see you this morning. Thank you for coming out to Town Hall. I always love to kind of recognize people who have celebrated a birthday and an anniversary, but there's always a risk in doing this because it's like, where do you start and where do you stop? So let's just say I'm gonna try to recognize people who have had celebrations in the last couple of days, okay? So we don't have any birthdays on the 13th of August, but Barbara Harrell and Skip Johnson were on the 12th. Happy birthday. And Tom Freeman is tomorrow, and then Dottie Bean and Nita Boring are on Sunday. So happy birthday to everybody who's celebrating a birthday. And in the anniversary category, again, we don't have anybody with the wedding anniversary today, but Stan and Gail Teeter celebrated theirs on the 8th. And then on the 17th, the Hannahs celebrate their wedding anniversary. And the Hertzlers celebrate their wedding anniversary. Are the Hannahs here? No? And the Hertzlers, which wedding anniversary is it for you? There's Chuck. Chuck, happy wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. Which anniversary is it for you? Wow. 58. Wow. I want to make it to 58 years. I really do. Thank you so much. Let's open our meeting with the word of prayer if we could, okay? Lord God, we just thank you so much for this space and for all of the wonderful celebrations that we have enjoyed and for what is yet to come. We ask you to bless our time today and bless this place. We ask for everybody that works here and serves here to just receive a special blessing for their dedication to serving people in the Spirit of Christ. And we ask you to be with us now in Jesus' name. Amen. So our Red Carpet Service Award for this month goes to a very, very unique person. Ray Standridge. Are you here? Would you come forward? Ray has worked at Trinity Woods for 17.5 years. He was born and raised in Hominy, Oklahoma. Anybody know what his hobbies are? Hanging pictures. Hunting and fishing are his hobbies. His favorite meal is pork chops. And is it true that you went from kindergarten through the 12th grade without missing a single day of school. That is amazing. That is amazing. His favorite books are any history book. And he says every day is a good day. That's his favorite quote, his favorite quote. This is what Ty Westlake said about Ray. He has a heart for the residents and the members, and he's always looking out for their best needs and always has a kind word when he visits with them. So we are thrilled this month to be recognizing you as the Red Carpet Award recipient. And here's a certificate. Ray Standridge is the Red Carpet Customer Service Star of the Month for August. Thank you so much. Bless you. Take care. We also have two people who are being recognized for milestones in their service to Trinity Woods. Candy Ramirez, who works in the dining area in the Employee Corner Cafe, is being recognized for 10 years of service. And Chris Harvey, who is the Director of Finance, is being recognized for 15 years of service. I see Chris. Is Candy here? All right. Well, Chris, would you come up here? And I'm going to ask Jim to come up too, if that'd be okay. We are all so grateful to Chris because whenever any of us have a financial question, we can go to her and she has the answer for it. So would you join me in expressing appreciation to Chris? Thank you so much. Congratulations. Bless you. All right. Well, we'll have Candy come forward when she gets here. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to ask Jacob to come up and provide the most recent update on COVID-19. All of you should have gotten an update in your boxes yesterday. But we have some additional information today.
Good morning. It's a longer walk now, and there's steps. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, I've got a few updates for you. One is that for our entire campus, we do have a few positives. We have 3 current staff members that have tested positive and are on quarantine. Those staff members are kind of spread out throughout the campus, so it's not an isolated area. And because of that, we have what are considered 2 outbreaks. There's one in the memory care, our Marshall Gaddy house, and then the health center. Now, when I say outbreak, that sounds like, sirens and red flashing lights, but CMS considers one case an outbreak. So once you have one, then you're considered to have an outbreak. So it doesn't mean that we jump into a big panic or anything, but it does come with some additional steps that we take. So currently we are testing weekly with all of our licensed staff members. And in some cases, if those individuals are unvaccinated, then they are being tested twice weekly. And so that's how we're kind of catching. If there's anything new, we're getting them pretty quick before they have been on campus and worked for a while. Now, everybody that is positive, they're home quarantining, they're doing well. We don't have anybody that's suffering from any severe symptoms or anything. And some of those individuals were fully vaccinated. Something that has came out of this that you could think of as a positive other than test results is that people are getting a little tired of being tested twice a week if they are unvaccinated. Before our vaccination status for employees was hovering around 50%, and that is increasing steadily, especially in our licensed caregivers. We have quite a few members that are going through the process right now of getting their their shots. So that, yeah, that's been a real good highlight. So, and then throughout all this, we haven't had any members that have tested positive in any of our licensed areas. So we continue to be really vigilant. There's a lot of steps that we take even when we're not in outbreak. And the one thing for you guys, if you're going to visit somebody either in Marshall Gaddy, in Holloman, or in one of the healthcare households, please check in either through the kiosk, or if you're going to Marshall Gaddy, they do some things by paper out there. But make sure that you've got a face covering on. You go straight to the individual that you're there to visit, and things. So, and we really appreciate you helping us through this and being vigilant. So, yes, questions? So if a member wants to be tested, so we are able to test those that live in the licensed areas, but typically anybody that lives out in residential living, we're going to use a PCR test that would go through like RML. So if you are curious, like if you're not feeling well or anything like that, please search out Lapina. If she's not here, certainly find one of us and we'll help you get in contact with either your physician or possibly like an urgent care and get a PCR completed. Yes. All right, big hot topic right now is the booster shots. Yes, Pfizer has been working on that. Currently, there's nothing out there that says that they're going to be offered, but we do anticipate them to be coming. And when they do come out, it would be for anybody that's autoimmune compromised or elders, especially like, as she said, people who were in kind of those first rounds, which we were, in those first days and weeks of it being offered back in December. So Walgreens, who had previously done our clinics back in December and January and February, they had already reached out to me actually a couple weeks ago and just stated, hey, if this occurs, we're standby ready to come out on campus and things. So if it does come out, we'll be pushing some communication out to you guys and letting you know when it's available. Yes. So currently there's nobody in residential living that's positive. So there aren't any. The only positives that we have, what we would consider on campus, are our 3 staff members. Any other?
Mike Reynolds had COVID.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to speak to individuals, but right now I'm only aware of 3 staff members. Any other questions? All right. Oh, yes, Richard. So the question is, could we do some incentives to staff who are unvaccinated to get vaccinated? We have discussed it. We've actually discussed it even at a board level. At this point, the individuals that remain unvaccinated, any incentive, we don't see it as swaying anybody. We know other campuses and other organizations that have utilized incentives, and they had essentially the same rates as we had. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I see Candy in the back. Candy, we would love to have you come up here. We all want to give you a round of applause in recognition of your 10 years of service at Trinity Woods. Chuck, would you join us? Thank you so much. Congratulations. We appreciate everything that you do. Bless you. Thanks so much. Thank you all very much. So, you know that I like to use the town hall as a forum for discussing issues that are of common concern to the community. And that's what I'd like to do right now. The organization, the Trinity Woods organization, feels very strongly about our mission of serving people in the Spirit of Christ. And we're at a point in this season of 2021 where we're beginning to ask questions about the future here. What's next at Trinity Woods? Part of that involves thinking about the governance of the organization at the board level. Part of it involves thinking about the staff, and part of it involves thinking about the community members. It's been very interesting. For the last 15 years, the answer to the question, what's next, has been really easy to answer. We knew that we needed to renovate the health center in 2010. We knew that Crestwood was going to bring new services and new amenities to the community in 2012. And when Crestwood got opened and operational, we began thinking about, okay, what's next? And we knew that we needed to replace the assisted living. We ended up with a beautiful new Holloman building. And as soon as that was done, we knew that we needed to demolish the old building and to begin work on memory care assisted living and the community life center. And so again, we find ourselves asking questions about what's to come. More and more, we recognize that forward-thinking organizations are recognizing that inclusion and diversity is beneficial to the organization. People from various culture backgrounds. It includes all kinds of different kinds of diversity. And we see around us a commitment growing to be more conscious about being more diverse and being more inclusive. What I'm going to try to talk to you about this morning are 3 areas that we are looking at in advocating for a more diverse and inclusive organization. So first of all, on the board level, right now we have a pretty strong amount of gender diversity on the board, but there is no ethnic diversity on the board at all. It has been that way before. We had a professor at ORU in the School of Nursing who served on the board that was African-American. We had an African-American bishop for a number of years. Those people rotated off the board, and we recognize the need for us to be intentional about recruiting a more diverse board in the situation that we're in right now. On the staff level, we recognize the need for effective training programs on things like an awareness about implicit bias, that things that go to the level of cultural sensitivity and awareness about concerns related to that. And so this fall, actually beginning this month and going through the fall, we are going to all of the hiring managers that are part of the leadership at Trinity Woods will be going through a sequence of training experiences on implicit bias. Dr. Gibran Pasha is a physician with the OUTU School of Community Medicine. He's done extensive research in this area. And last fall, he actually did a presentation to the board on implicit bias and how it affects the way that we interact with people and the way that we engage. And so we're going to expand that training, and all of the hiring managers, I think there's 35 hiring managers, will be going through that training this fall. Another area that we've been looking at has to do with what will happen with the Dartmoor property. And there is a task force that has been set up, a future vision task force that involves 22 different people. It involves business partners, it involves board members, and it involves community leaders, and it involves staff members. And over the past several months, that task force has been working on thinking about the best use for Dartmoor. One of the possibilities is that Dartmoor could be used to expand the mission of Trinity Woods with the development of a middle market, independent living residential apartments. And there's a lot of different ways that could be developed. But okay, thank you. Jane asked, what is Dartmoor? There's a subdivision that's immediately to the west of Trinity Woods. And there are 32 lots in the subdivision. We've been acquiring those lots slowly but surely over the past number of years. We own 22 of the 32 lots in the subdivision, and our hope is to acquire the rest of them as they become available. And so, thinking toward the future, we've been asking ourselves, what would be the best use of that property, and how can the mission of this organization expand? One possibility is the development of that property as a middle market residential living, independent living apartment development. So 60% of seniors fall into a category where they do not have enough assets to qualify for affordable housing, government subsidized housing, and yet they do not have enough income or assets to qualify to move into an entry fee senior living community, a life plan community like Trinity Woods. So the expanding into the middle market would mean developing a independent living apartment building that would that would enable people who don't qualify for subsidized housing to reside in that community. The question was, would they still be a part of Trinity Woods? The answer to that question, would they be a part of Trinity Woods, is a complex question that senior living providers all across the country are struggling to answer. It's clear that there's a reason why it's clear that there's a risk in offering a service-rich, a wide range of services in this environment. And so would they be members of the Trinity Woods community? That's a question that we haven't really answered yet. That's one of the things that the task force is looking into. We've actually done a site visit in another community. So several of us traveled to a United Methodist related community in Asheville, North Carolina, to look at how they have expanded their mission. And each community that's part of the Givens communities developed its own separate identity. And so in that situation, no, there's not really any crossover between the communities. There's no crossover. But that's part of what the task force is charged with looking into. The work of the task force will be completed probably sometime this month or next month, and a report will be delivered to the full board of the recommendations of the task force. So we're still in the process of working this out. But I know that many people have had questions about what the Dartmoor subdivision might be used for. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to share with you what the work of the task force and what you can expect in the way of hearing back once the task force is completed. So I'm expecting that some communication about the report of the task force will be delivered in the future. But I didn't want the rumors to be out there. Part of what I wanted to do was to kind of open up the dialogue today and see what other questions you have. So let's try and see if we could do that for a few minutes. Would that be okay? Does anybody have any questions about what I've shared? The question was, where would the funding come from? Anything that we do that involves expansion would, so part of I'm sorry, Judy, your question has several facets to it. One of the questions that's unanswered is, what would the corporate structure be of this development? So would this be like a subsidiary? Would it be a completely separate entity? And our expectation would be that the funding for any expansion would come from a new bank venture and new philanthropy. A new bank venture and new philanthropy. So to say that differently, we don't see this as having a direct impact on the operations of the current 40-acre Trinity Woods campus. It wouldn't affect your fees. It wouldn't affect our financial structure here at all. It would be a separate financial venture. The question was, but it would produce income for Trinity Woods. Again, it's a very good question, but it's a very complex question too. Obviously, we don't want to do anything that would that wouldn't be financially viable or that would compromise the financial strength of this organization. But growing and expanding the mission of the organization is an important part of future planning. And I've told people for years that answering the question, what's next on this campus, is one of the hardest things that we'll do. So I hope I answered your question. Yes. That is a great question too. The question was, is that the only thing that the task force is considering? So one of the things that has become apparent to us is that this may not be one project. It's a common step in our industry for a single site to look at expanding into more than one site. And while this says our strategic plan for years has included helping other like-minded organizations. And while in the past, we have looked at possibilities for moving from a single site to a multi-site organization, we've never seen an opportunity that we felt invited taking that step. Broadening the mission of the organization helps in several ways to strengthen the organization. It helps build the talent pool, it helps build the financial base of the organization, and of course, it helps to serve more people. So what's become apparent is that we may not be looking just at Dartmoor. It may be that as we look toward the future, that using our experience and using our strength to move from a single site to multi-site could be advantageous to us.
One of the things I think that Trinity Woods needs to really captivate on is that we are the only midtown retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
And many people desire midtown. So is there a possibility that, I think that sort of hinges on this other question, but that we could have more patio homes or independent villas in this Dartmoor?
So the expansion of the current offerings on the Trinity Woods campus is one of the alternatives that is part of what the task force is evaluating. Yes, Tom.
Who is this task force?
So there are 22 members on the task force. The task force is made up of board members, community leaders, business partners, and staff members.
I've heard from several people talking about this, and mainly what people want to know, will they have the same amenities that we have here, or will we be paying subsidizing? Like we have the movies and concerts and security and all the things we actually pay for now. Will they have that same amenities?
In the communities that we have looked at, the communities develop a separate and distinct identity, and there isn't a crossover in the services that are provided. So it's something that we need to look at and consider as we think about the possibility of expansion. Yes, David.
Have we included in the present expansion that we just are completing the funds to go ahead and do the landscaping and the road repair that we now have?
So David's question, if it's okay, I'm going to put David's question about what happens with the landscaping and the road improvements in the parking lot for just a second, because Dennis will answer that when he comes up to do his report on operations. Yes.
It would appear to me, Steve, that the first proposal creates a tension between maintaining the richness and uniqueness of this community and providing diversity and inclusiveness. On the other hand, that's going to create a severe tension that will somehow have to be dealt with.
So Bob makes a great point. How do we grow and expand while not taking away from what we already have? The task force has been acutely aware of the dynamic tension that you've talked about. And I think that we will take that very, very seriously before we consider any action at all. So I'm grateful for your pointing that out, and it's very helpful. Yes.
Steve, with the group that you're talking about, sounds a lot like Section 8 housing. And that has not been a program that has worked any real success, and you can start with the government and they'll tell you all about it. But I don't know the answer. I'm not saying, but that brings in a whole different, I hate to use the word class, but that's what it's going to be. If people that cannot afford to be in it on their own. And then I think the moral responsibility that Trinity Woods would have if they're a supporter of that is going to be just like Uncle Sam is to some others, that's the ultimate place. And if any failure is going to come back, regardless if it's a separate entity or not.
Thank you very much. Yes, Judy? So the question was, how will we determine the direction that we're going? The only work that the task force is doing right now is making a recommendation to the board. The board is the governance organization. The board is the governance body for the organization. And ultimately, the decision would be made by the board.
If apartments are built on the Dartmoor property, do you have any idea if this will be a multi-story building or how many apartments would be built?
So again, the work of the task force is just very, very, very high level. The possibilities include all of the alternatives that you suggested. So it could be a multi-story building. It could be a multi-story building with mixed use on the ground floor, or it could be kind of a village. And no determination has been made, but at a very high level, we do have an architect that's on the task force, and all of those alternatives have been included in the discussion that we've had. Yes, Virginia.
Is it live? Yeah. When you drive from here to Walmart, two or three blocks, you pass at least two senior living complexes. I don't think it's true that we're the only place in Midtown. I'm not sure where you're thinking of something like those or something entirely different. I can't think of their names right offhand.
What we envision is expanding our mission in a way that delivers the same type of quality services that we deliver here to a wider group of people. That's what our hope would be. In the same way that we have cautiously and methodically planned for the growth over the last 15 years, the same degree of due diligence will go into whatever we plan for the future here. And I don't know how careful analysis, thoughtful planning, and a focused concern on quality will be a part of whatever it is that we do. Yes, Jane?
On this committee? Did you say there are or
There
not?
are, the task force does not include any members of the Trinity Woods community. The question was, why not? It was an oversight, and I commit to you that we will not do anything without keeping you involved. This task force was intended to be at the highest level. a high-level overview. And we're not going to take any action without your involvement and without your participation.
Are they taking into consideration our neighbors and their concerns?
That's a great
We
question.
need to be good neighbors, and so
That's a great question. All of this planning is preliminary. There are still 10 lots that we don't own. And there are a number of zoning and city approval processes that we would have to go through in order to do anything there. So I appreciate your question and your concern, and we do want to be good neighbors. And obviously, we can't undertake a venture like this without getting the proper approvals in order to go forward with it. The question was, who is using the property now? Several of the properties are we've rented or leased to various nonprofit organizations that serve the Tulsa community. Family Promise, which is a ministry that provides assistance to families that are moving from homelessness into stabilized housing, uses one of the properties. One of the properties is occupied by a orphanage that does work in Uganda. Several of the properties have been used by home missionaries that are helping people that are still recovering from the floods that occurred in 2019. And so we try to use the properties in that way. Several of them serve as ancillary storage for Trinity Woods, and a number of them are just we can't use them really for anything. They've deteriorated to the point where they can't be used for anything. Yes.
I have a question about, you started out talking about diversity
Yes, ma'am.
and talked about Dartmoor. And what is being done to increase the diversity on the campus that we have now? Two standard phrases come to mind that I'm thinking that we want to be really aware of. One of them is separate but equal, and that the school districts addressed, and the other is segregation. So I'm concerned about the diversity on the campus as it stands now.
I think that a significant part of the work that this is a question that we've struggled with for many years. It's a question when we went to Givens Communities in Asheville, North Carolina, we thought we would find some answers to the question. And what we discovered there is that they look exactly like we do in all of their communities. And they have affordable housing. And they do a great job of delivering affordable housing. They have middle market housing that serves this 60% of the population that I'm talking about. But even among those communities, there was no ethnic diversity. And so I think that ethnic diversity happens when there's a change of heart and mind, and there's a receptivity that creates an inviting space for people to come in. And so I really appreciate your question. I wish that we could do more, but I do think that it starts with leadership. It starts with a more ethnically diverse board. It starts with a greater awareness and a greater openness to staff-related issues and promoting diversity among the staff. And I think ultimately, this is a question that we should all be asking ourselves. How could we become a more diverse community? How could we become more welcoming? These are important questions for us to be asking in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Steve, if this committee, decides something and it goes into effect and the construction, what kind of a time frame are you looking at? From now to 5 years? Are you looking at 10 years? Or are you looking at 2 years? Or what?
So let me be crystal clear. I don't want anybody to leave here with the impression that the task force is going to make a decision that will be imposed on anybody. That's not the purpose of the task force. The task force will be making a recommendation of the preliminary steps, the preliminary next steps to be taken in determining how the mission of Trinity Woods can be expanded. Bruce's question was, how long does this take? It took about 8 years from the time that the planning began until the time that Crestwood opened. And if you think about this space, it took about 7 years from the time that this space was conceived of until this space was open. So it's a long process. Yeah. Yes. So this is a great question. The houses that are unsightly, the question was, could the houses that are unsightly be raised to improve the appearance of the Dartmoor subdivision? What we've tried to avoid doing is, so we maintain all of the properties, we cut the grass, we see to it that security patrols them to make sure that they're secure. But you're correct. We're not replacing roofs. We're not painting the houses when the paint goes bad, because it wouldn't really make any sense to do that. But I do think that you can expect to see over time, we're going to take action to demolish the ones that are most unsightly and, basically improve the look in that way. Okay. Yes, Tom? So the question was about the age of the people that we would be seeking to serve. There isn't any plan to change the mission of the organization and basically we serve people who are 62 years or older. Implicit bias. So the question was, what about implicit bias training for the residents? How would you all like to experience a condensed version of the training that the staff is going through? Very good. Very good. Don?
I wouldn't want to discourage any of what you've talked about, but I was curious, are we totally done with the campus we have, or are there some plans for the future there too?
We're never totally done. We're never totally done. But you do really raise a great question. And if it's okay, I'm aware that there was a tremendous need to address this question because the work of the task force has been underway for a while. Some of you have seen the task force meeting and so forth. And so I'm sure that there have been questions about this. And really what I wanted to do was to make sure that you're aware, we expect an open and sincere dialogue about this process. What drives all of us who are serving on the board and the senior leadership team is this sense that we cannot shift into a maintenance mode. We cannot lose touch with the desires and the expectations of the people that we serve. That's not just you, but that's everybody who is part of this community. And so I hope that what you'll hear in what I'm trying to share with you, I don't know that I've done as good a job as I would have liked to, but we want to be a mission-driven organization that's constantly looking for the most strategic way to grow and expand our mission. That's really what I'm trying to say.
I would like to ask if any member is thinking of putting together a group of members to address diversity on the current campus. I would like to volunteer for that group, but not lead it.
Conscious of the time, but not really wanting to cut it off before everybody has a chance to talk. Let me just circle back one more time and see if anybody has anything else that they'd like to ask or to say. If not, what I'd like to do is to turn the microphone over to Dennis. And as he comes forward, I'd like for all of you to know that Dennis has been promoted. He's no longer the Vice President of Operations for Trinity Woods. He is the Chief Operating Officer for Trinity Woods. And so join me in congratulating Dennis. And he is going to share an update on construction and some other relevant topics.
So as I was listening to the discussion, Steve indicated that we're never done, but we are pretty close to being done with this project. So I just want to clarify that because I know there's been a lot of questions about what are we doing with Sandusky, the landscaping in the two fields on the east side, both the north and the south. We have a landscaping plan that is being finalized. One of the challenges we had was, if you remember, in those fields, we drilled a bunch of wells for this building and for the AL for the geothermal. So we can't plant trees and things like that on top of those. So we had to go back and make sure that we don't have any plantings that are going to affect our well fields and the type of plants and things like that. So we hope to have, and Jesse and I were just talking, our goal is, as we've stated previously, that we want to get Sandusky open by the end of this month, which is, sounds like a long time. It's only a couple of weeks. So we're getting closer to ending a however many year journey that is. So hopefully we'll have that done by the end of this month. The fences are going to start coming down around the healthcare. We just got some cleanup to do. The construction guys have got a little stuff they need to get out of there. And then we'll start doing some grading. We are going to bring in some water trucks and start watering those fields before we start doing our grading, so we don't impose a bunch of dust on our neighbors' front porches, like the hardware store and places like that. So we'll take care of all of that. But hopefully that's good news. I know it's probably you'd like to see us take it down and open it today, but we really need to make sure that all of the risks are mitigated in that area. And that's our goal, is to do that by the end of the month. We continue to, on the new community center, we continue to button up some loose ends that we had, punch lists, some things that haven't come in. We're working on getting the balance of the lighting out in the hallways and in the gathering areas. So we should have those done soon. And we've got some touch up to do on the Barnes House. I know they're going to try to open that here pretty quick. So we're getting that finished so the new members can move in there. And one other thing too, as we were talking earlier, the question came up about members testing positive on campus. Steve was talking, we looked at some reports and we do have one positive member case. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay. And aside from that, I think you'll start seeing us do our normal fall things from a landscaping perspective. Soon we'll be coming through and taking out all of the spring plants. It'll probably happen in the middle of September to 1st of October. And we'll start putting pansies and all the winter color in. Unfortunately, I hate to say winter, but we're real close. So I've enjoyed the summer, and as I've said before, I know everybody knows that this is football season, but does everybody know what comes with football season? Trout season. Some of the best time of the year to catch trout. So you guys keep that in mind as well. Aside from that, is there any questions for me? Yes. Right. So I'm assuming the question was what's being done about the worm problem. So we have a couple of worm problems. We have worms in some of the trees, and they're going to spray those next week. And we have, as everybody's seen on television, the infamous army worms, which the entire campus was sprayed on Wednesday. And I think they finished it up yesterday morning. So we have sprayed for those. Not only did we spray chemicals to kill the worms that are present, we also put down some granular that will give us some residual too. So if we have any more come through, we should be protected. Yes. Jane. It's already done. Yeah, it was a pyrethrum product and it should not hurt the pets once it dries. Yes. Back there. Right. Yeah. It'll come back. Yeah. And if it doesn't, we'll resod it. But Bermuda will come back, and fescue, any fescue that was damaged, it will not come back, and we'll reseed that in the fall too with our fall duties. Yes, right here. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I talked to Ty about that, and we're going to put that on a biannual, we're going to put it on a quarterly cleaning, and then we're going to put it on a biannual check, and then an annual update. So hopefully we'll keep that updated. I'm sorry, the question, the comment is the upgrades that we did to the gazebo look really nice. So, yeah.
Yeah, does
Yes.
the landscaping include some improvement of our roads?
So that's two separate things. To answer your question, yes, we are going to do some improvements to the roads.
Good.
But those are two separate projects.
Okay, but
Yes.
that's on the agenda.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, Bonnie. Yep.
The opening of Sandusky, as well as the open hours for the CLC and the access cards for after hours.
Okay, the access cards for after hours on the CLC, we are finishing, that's part of the finishing up process. We are locking the doors at 7 p.m. If you need to come into the CLC, you can come down the bridge and come through there and then come in after 7. We should have all of our our card readers, our access control completed late next week is our goal. So there's some parts that had to be ordered that haven't come in yet. So hopefully they'll be in. The question on the laydown area for the construction is the kind of the timeline I was talking about. By the end of this month, we should have that cleaned up. And by the end of the month, they should be starting the landscaping in that area. Sandusky will open by the end of this month. Okay.
You're talking about the gazebo on the west side of the building, which in like with Little Woodward Park. Could you put that on, be clean like quarterly?
Yes, absolutely.
I would appreciate
Yep,
that.
we'll take care of that. Yes, Kay.
Will the beautiful area around the CLC get Christmas lights?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm gonna need to get back to you on that. I'll see what I can do. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Yes.
Since our name has changed to Trinity Woods, the problem that was raised by not being able to plant trees because of water, drill, some things here. Do we get trees on Sandusky again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question was, does the well field eliminate any kind of tree planting process on Sandusky? And the answer is no. What it's going to do is it's going to drive the trees further west, and they're going to be closer to the creek. So they won't be right on the curb line of Sandusky. That's where our well fields are. They go all the way up to pretty close to the top. And we need to stay a pretty good distance from those because we never want roots in those ever. Yep. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Raleigh.
I just like to point out that when you exit the garage, the basement garage at Crestwood, there is a street light, the first light right out of the door.
Okay.
And it's flickering and I think it's going out.
Okay. We will, we'll get that addressed. I'll turn that over to Ty. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So that's one of the things that's a great question. That's one of the things that we're looking into is to see what we can do. But we just don't want any disruptions to our well fields. That would be really bad. So we're going to be real cautious with that, but we are trying to do something. Yes. Yes.
Guthrie Green has well fields under it and it's landscaped very nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they have under it, but we're getting clarification from the engineers just to make sure we don't have any issues. And it probably can be definitely landscaped. I just don't think we need to, I don't think we can put any trees there. Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yes.
That you, by the gazebo with the gravel was put in temporarily?
By the gazebo. Oh, that road will be put back. That we'll put the curb back and put grass back in there. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hello, mine's short and sweet. Dennis took my CLC hours. So he did say the doors close at 7 p.m., but they open at 7 a.m. So they're open from 7 to 7. And then we also have the piano dedication concert that is August 26th. You got your invitations earlier this week and our concert features Don Ryan, but we do have two surprise guests that you'll have to come to the concert and see who those are. So we have a great evening planned. So we hope to see you on August 26th to dedicate our beautiful piano. And then we still have our summer school going on this week. So we still have spots open. So please check your calendar and sign up for any summer school classes. Any questions? Bonnie, the question is, where's the plaque of donors going to be placed? Bonnie's going to answer that.
Just a point for clarification, Richard, do you mean the plaque for piano or the plaque for overall campaign donors?
For the piano.
The piano plaque will be unveiled that night, so it will not be on the wall that night. We're going to unveil it on the stage, but it ultimately will have a place out in the coffee bar area. And then the other donor signage, we are working currently to get placed in the main entrance area to recognize all those that supported the Generation campaign.
Thank you.
Bonnie, do we have any other questions from our online audience? No, we're good. Okay, well, thanks everybody who joined online and thanks all of you who are here live. There's certainly more to come on all of these things. I appreciate your willingness to take a little extended time today in order for an explanation. And I hope you have a great day. Have a great weekend.